Hi mathematicians! Today we're going to learn about the meaning of both square and square root. So square means the product of a number and itself. So for example, the product of 6 and 6, 6 multiplies 6, that's 6 squared, equals 36. 6 multiplies 6 is 36, so 6 squared equals 36. Square root is one of two equal factors to a number. So for example, the square root of 9, which we would write using this symbol, is 3 because 3 multiplied 3 is 9. So what number times itself equals the number inside the square root? Another name for this symbol is called a radical. So that symbol is called a radical. And a perfect square is a number whose square root is a whole number. So 16 is a perfect square because the square root of 16 is 4. However, a number like square root of 15 is not a perfect square because there is not two numbers that we can multiply that equal 15. That's the same number. We can multiply 3 times 5 equals 15, but they're not the same number. That's a whole number. Okay, so why is it called a perfect square? So if we look here, we have a square that's 2 by 2. Here, our length is 2, and our width is 2. So 2 multiply 2, if we count the number of squares inside the bigger gray square, is 4 small squares inside this big square. So that's why it's called a perfect square. The sides are the same. So 2 multiply 2 is 4. It makes a square. Here, this side is 3, and this side is 3. So how many squares are inside the square made by 3 by 3? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 3 times 3 is 9, or 3 squared equals 9. In this last example, the side of this square is 4. And on the other side, also 4. In order to be a square, you have to have the same side. So 4 multiplied by 4, same thing as a 4 square. If we count all the smaller squares, that's 16. So 4 is a perfect square because 2 times 2 equals 2 squared equals 4. 9 is a perfect square because 3 times 3 equals 9. That's 3 squared. 16 is a perfect square because 4 times 4, or 4 squared, is 16. So let's do an example of what you might see in your work time. Simplify 4 squared. Well, remember we said 4 squared, we're doing 4 times 4. 4 times 4 is 16. Evaluate the square root of 16. So we need to find what number can we multiply by itself that equals 16. Well, we just found 4 times 4 is 16. So the square root of 16 is 4. Now, not every number is a perfect square. It won't always give us a whole number with no decimal. So we need to be able to also use our calculators. So if I want to put in the square root of 16 in my calculator, I would press second x squared 16. Enter. And that gives me 4. which I put as my answer already. Let's read the next question. Round to the nearest hundredth the square root of 7. Now when it says nearest hundredth, that means 2 decimals. So 100 has 2 zeros, so we need 2 decimals in it. So let me take my calculator back. Second x squared gives me the square root, as we see on top of x squared. And we put 7, enter, we get this number. So here we want to round to the nearest hundredth. So to do that, let me copy the number, 2.64575, 2.64575, and it keeps going. This is actually an irrational number, so it goes on forever. We don't see that in the calculator, but it does. The calculator just can't show it all. So now we said we wanted 2 decimals. So here's my decimal. I'm going to count 2 numbers, 1, 2. I'm going to cut it off here. Now this next number, 5, is a big number. Any number that's 5 or more, that means we're going to go and add 1 to the previous number. So we're going to say this is about 2.65. And that's all for now, mathematicians. I hope this helps you to do today's work.